Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel. My friends, today is the day. The Billy Boy Hinman Ethereum free pass emails and associated documents, drafts of the speech, it's all out in the public now. Our community is working diligently to break down all the most pertinent parts of this. So what I'm going to do is, as quick as I can collect the information, I'm going to be putting videos together, putting this stuff out here. I'm going to do my best to keep the overlap from video to video as minimal as possible. So each individual video, regardless of when I publish it, having anything to do with the Hinman stuff, you can watch them in any order. It's going to be just fine. I promise I will design them in such a way, so don't worry about that. So in this first video that I'm putting out today on this, let's just lay the groundwork in perspective in terms of what's going on here. Mind you that Ripple has had these documents since last year. I believe they got them, if memory serves, I want to say October of last year. So I'm going to share with you perspective from Ripple's chief legal officer, Stuart Alderati, because he really lays out the basics. Of course, there's way more to discuss than just that, which is why, yeah, there's going to be a lot of content coming out today. But also some perspective from Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse in this video. I will say, it is, from what I've seen to this point anyway, pretty well in line with what I personally was expecting it to be. And I think that people that haven't been following what's been happening in the SEC v. Ripple case and aren't aware of all the conversation and controversy surrounding Bill Hinman, I think those people will be shocked. I think that Brad Garlinghouse was right to state that what's in here is actually shocking. Now, for me, and perhaps for many of you listening, you might not feel quote-unquote shocked, but you're going to feel validated. You're going to love this. And it's good to have this see the light of day. And this is going to result, I believe, in a material change to the way that the SEC approaches things, because this is going to vastly impact how the public feels about the SEC. So, the question of to what degree will it or won't it impact Ripple specifically, broadly going to hold off on that for a separate video. But let's get things rolling here. Before I go further, though, actually, I do want to be clear. I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Shout out and credit to James K. Filan, attorney and member of the XRP community, for sharing this. Now, I don't know what the total page count is going to be for this thing, but this first document here shared by Filan is 85 pages. I remember the other day, Attorney Deaton was saying that, it should be in, I think it was him anyway, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I thought it was him, saying that we should expect many thousands of pages. But here's what Stuart Alderati had to say just a few hours ago. He wrote, and by the way, they put this really nicely produced video that's several minutes long, kind of breaking this stuff down with a very professional narrator. I'm better than that, though. You got Moon Family Sedan up here, son. So anyway, here's what Stuart already had to say. It's been 5 years since Bill Hinman gave his infamous speech, and through the SEC's lawsuit against Ripple and 7 court orders, we can finally share what happened behind the scenes through the now public emails/drafts of the speech. We now can all see Hinman ignored multiple warnings that his speech contained made-up analysis with no basis in law, was divorced from the Howey factors, exposed regulatory gaps, and would create not just confusion, but greater confusion in the market. Yeah, and so I'll pause to note this. As far as this idea of it creating greater confusion in the market, we here in the XRP community have been espousing that idea for most of the last 2.5 years. In fact, I remember the comment from Brad Garlinghouse. I saw him in some video. I can't remember when it was. But he noted that once the Ethereum free pass speech was given, June 14th of 2018, Brad Garlinghouse, as CEO of Ripple, his first reaction was, this is really good for us, actually. Because if this is the test that the SEC is going to go by, and this is, although technically Bill Hinman's opinion, if this is the test the SEC is going to go by and what they're going to push out there to provide clarity, which is what the SEC did. They pushed forward Bill Hinman's personal opinion to provide clarity. Absolutely. Jay Clayton, in fact, pointed to Bill Hinman's speech to provide direction and noted that it was on their website. Jay Clayton did that as then SEC chair. And so Brad Garlinghouse is looking at this and saying, hey, if this is the test, we're in the clear, because if you look at the criteria set forth, Ripple can satisfy that even more easily than the Ethereum Foundation or Consensus. And so I'm paraphrasing, but that is the message that Brad Garlinghouse shared about his first thoughts on the day that speech was given, June 14th, 2018, which, by the way, of course, that's 5 years as of tomorrow. Isn't that time of all this kind of fun? Stuart already continues. A refresher. Hinman, as the head of the SEC's Corporation Finance, gave a speech in June 2018 declaring that a token is not a security once it becomes sufficiently decentralized, and he invented factors to consider when making a sufficiently decentralized determination. Although Hinman claimed that the speech was his personal view, he and the SEC touted it as guidance. Then SEC Chair Jay Clayton publicly pointed to it. Despite the SEC repeatedly flip-flopping on the significance of the speech in litigation, it remains on the agency's website. Folks, that's right. Let's pause here. It's on their damn website right now. How is this freaking possible? It makes no damn sense. Alderati continues. Now let's look at what senior SEC officials directly said to Hinman about his speech as he was drafting it. And by the way, some of this might burn your biscuits a little bit, little heads up right there. Because what we have right here, literally, it's literally comments off to the side in this Microsoft Word documents telling Bill Hinman why he's wrong and why he shouldn't be doing what he's doing. And in many cases, he just did what he wanted anyway. I mean, ulterior motives much? Because they even question, you'll see as we go through this, it's like, why do you even need to mention Ether? Oh, isn't that weird? Might it have something to do with personal benefits? Me wonders, right? Alderati continues. Head of Trading and Markets, TM for short, said, quote, because the list of factors is so extensive and appears to include things that go beyond the typical Howey analysis, we have concerns this might lead to greater confusion on what is a security, end quote. Hinman ignored those concerns, and here's the actual comment. I'll make it full screen for you. It reads as follows. So this is from somebody at the SEC, head of Trading and Markets. There we go. We appreciate your efforts to link these more closely to the factors in the Howey test. However, because the list of factors is so extensive and appears to include things that go beyond the typical analysis, e.g. hoarding, we have concerns this might lead to greater confusion on what is a security. My friends, hoarding an asset, think about this. How many times have I said this, and I've disagreed respectfully with many within the XRP community. When it comes to the quantity of XRP held, that has nothing to do with the Howey test, explicitly. The quantity held? In fact, the SEC, in arguing against Ripple, they don't even cite that as a problem. And so I've seen over the years so many people push back against me and say, or just espouse the idea on their own, saying, hey, you know what the SEC's really doing? They're coming after Ripple's escrow, and I'm just kind of faced. I'm like, what kind of dot connecting conspiracy theory nonsense is this exactly? Because there's no evidence for it. Now, if you show me evidence, then I'll say, oh wow, they do have an ulterior motive. But in this vacuum, where this complete absence of such facts, why would it make sense to think that that's likely? If you want to posit it as an idea and wonder, might there be evidence out there? Okay, fine. But if you're going to assert that this is the reason they're doing it, you've clearly taken a step too far. And here, this head of Trading and Markets, SEC official, says that hoarding, that's not typically part of the Howey analysis. How about that? So the quantity of XRP held isn't a concern here. Now, judges can still come to bad determinations, and I think we saw stuff like that in the library case, but I don't want to go off on a tangent on that. I am going to cover that in a separate video. But it does illustrate that, although, like I've said many times, I do believe that typically justice is done in the United States. Certainly it's not always the case. Judges can have bad rulings. And just the fact of having some sort of monetary interest, e.g. hoarding, that's not enough to satisfy the Howey test, says this SEC official. But then the judge in the library case, to some degree, kind of went in the other direction and actually brought that up. But anyway, more on that in a separate video. I don't want to get off track here. I just wanted to mention that, yes, I understand that's a thing to discuss in the future. Stewart already continues. T&M directly asked Hinman to tie his newly invented factors, quote, more closely and explicitly to the Howey analysis, end quote. Again, Hinman ignored the suggestion. And so here's the exact quote verbatim, full screen on your screen. As a general comment, please consider tying these factors more closely and explicitly to the Howey analysis. It may also be worth reiterating that standards and tests other than Howey may also be applicable. Already continues. Office of General Counsel, or OGC for short, and T&M called this factor legally irrelevant. Quote, has this person or group retained a stake or other interest in the digital asset such that it would be motivated to expend efforts to cause an increase in value in the digital asset, end quote? Hinman kept it. Crazy stuff here. I'm not sure. It may not be necessary to read through some of these screen grabs that he's got here. Yeah, I think those are ones that I thought I could breeze by. There's part of the next one, though, I do want to highlight. So Stewart already also said, T&M and OGC noted Hinman skipped over the threshold, a jurisdictional question of, quote, whether a digital asset meets the legal standards of a security, end quote. He jumped to asking whether SEC oversight could, in Hinman's view, be beneficial. Hinman ignored this regulatory gap. Yeah, so here's what you need to understand. There are certain things that are just categorized as securities, and I don't have the list in front of me. I've actually cited it before, but if you're talking in terms of an actual asset itself, the answer is obviously no. But there are certain things, the way that it's written up and accepted by law, that there are certain things, because of the nature of fitting certain criteria would. So again, it's by the nature, not of existing, but the nature of fitting certain criteria would be understood to be a security by default. Because, again, not the nature of existing, but setting certain criteria. And this is separate. So it's actually a long list. And I didn't think to pull it up before recording this video, but it's probably not necessary to make the point anyway. But some of you may recall what I'm talking about. It's a really exhaustive list. And digital asset is not included in that list. Cryptocurrency not included in that list because it was from decades ago, before it all existed, right? And so that's what they're citing here. And so they're saying, hey, because, again, let me read it again from Stuart already. TNM and OGC noted Hinman skipped over the threshold jurisdictional question of whether a digital asset meets the legal standards of a security. He jumped to asking whether SEC oversight could, in Hinman's view, be beneficial. Hinman ignored this regulatory gap. So even if you're looking at the Howey analysis, it's if you go from, even if you were talking about the Howey analysis, frankly. So if it doesn't meet the Howey analysis, would there be benefit to SEC oversight? Well, yeah, that's a gap. And so that part was pointed out to him. And there's a part down here in this one screen grab I did want to highlight towards the bottom here, which reads as follows. So this is again, one of the notes to Bill Hinman. It reads as follows. In other words, this speech acknowledges that there is an other category. It's not a security because there's no controlling group, at least in the Howey sense. Yet, like many other things, medication credit cards, there may be a need for regulation to protect purchasers. How about that? Yet again, Billy Boy Hinman did what he did, and then the SEC touted it as guidance. Already continues. On June 4th, Hinman wrote that he didn't see a, quote, need to regulate ETH as a security, end quote, and would call Buterin later that week to confirm, quote, our understanding, end quote. And look at this email, June 4th, 2018. You know, you're talking 10 days before the speech. This is an email from Bill Hinman, now public. Attached, please find a draft of the speech I had mentioned, which suggests that we do not need to see a need to regulate Ether as it is currently offered as a security. That language is in brackets and would be used if we all are in agreement. Whoa, let's pause right there. Why do you need the agreement from all of these people if it's just your personal opinion? Okay, well, and I know that the court found that it's just his personal opinion. Okay, because that's the way that they, the err on the side of caution. That's just what judges do when it comes to this stuff, because you don't want to take that. And it's true, like you don't want them to not have the ability to share their personal opinion. But my God, we know that this isn't actually just his personal opinion. If you have a personal opinion, and you're drafting a speech, do you typically have dozens of people help you write it and then just say that it's your opinion and not give them credit? Is that what you do in life? Because I don't do that. I've never done that. I don't. Come on. Anyway, and then Bill Hinman wrote, we also have a call with Buterin later this week to confirm our understanding of how the Ethereum Foundation operates. Please feel free to share any comments with me and the folks in the CC line. Thanks, Bill. So that's right. He had a call with Vitalik Buterin later this week to confirm our understanding. Now, isn't it funny that, he says he doesn't see any sort of central authority here. Bitch, you're talking to the central authority. It's like, when you're talking about the Ethereum Foundation and or consensus, like if you're going to say that Ripple could satisfy, well, actually, they're not even arguing that anymore. I shouldn't even go down that route because the SEC and the SEC v. Ripple case has flip-flopped on what the common enterprise is so many times. It's not even worth bringing up at this point. They used to argue that it's Ripple, and then they changed that, and it ultimately ended up becoming, that the embodiment theory that XRP represents the efforts of all this crap. Alderati continues. On June 12th, OGC expressed its, quote, reservations about including a statement directly about Ether in the speech, because it would make it difficult for the agency to take a different position on ETH in the future, end quote. ETH remained as a cited example. And here is a screen grab shared by Stuart Alderati. And again, so this is from an SEC official here pushing back against Bill Hinman. Reads directly as follows. We still have reservations about including a statement directly about Ether in the speech. Even with the caveats in the sentence, it seems that it would be difficult for the agency to take a different position on Ether in the future. Well, wait, hold on. Why would it be difficult for the agency to take a different position if it's just the opinion of Billy Boy Hinman? It's just his personal opinion, right? Why would that be hard to do? Doesn't make any sense, right? Logic doesn't follow there, you little sons of guns. Man, what a bunch of asshats. These people. So, but see, here's the thing, though. They also acknowledge it doesn't make sense to put Ether in the speech, but Bill Hinman insisted out of all the cryptocurrencies in existence at that time, and there were fewer. I don't know if it was like a couple thousand. I can't remember. It may have been approaching or over 2,000 at that point. Way fewer than today, but still, that's a lot. You're going to put this one in? I get it. It's a large cap coin, so people are more aware of it, but this is the one. This is it. Not XRP, which was... moving back and forth at times, throttling for that number 2 spot in terms of market cap. It's not XRP. Don't mention that in the speech. But ETH. Okay, I guess it's because reasons, right? Because reasons. It grinds my gears, son. Alderati continues. So what should happen now? First, remove the speech immediately from the SEC's website. An investigation must be conducted to understand what or who influenced Hinman, why conflicts, or at least appearances of conflicts, were ignored, and why the SEC touted the speech knowing that it would create greater confusion. And again, that's from the SEC. The term greater confusion, that's what they acknowledged would result from this. That was the concern. And then it already wraps up by saying, and finally, Hinman's speech should never again be invoked in any serious discussion about whether a token is or is not a security. Unelected bureaucrats must faithfully apply the law within the constraints of their jurisdiction. They can't, as Hinman tried, create new law. Spot on, Stuart Alderati. Well stated. Brad Garlinghouse retweeted that and wrote the following. It's absolutely unconscionable that a regulator, when presented with so much pushback on what he was about to say / how he compiled this fake test in the first place, decided to move forward anyway and throw an entire industry into chaos. For the SEC to sue Chris Larson and me personally for allegedly selling unregistered securities, when their own division head deliberately created confusion about this, well, I don't have a single polite word to describe this deplorable, politically motivated overreach. Seeing the depth to which the SEC has essentially weaponized the lack of regulatory clarity through enforcement actions since this speech was given, it's no surprise that we can call bluff on their claims to just come in and register as nothing but in bad faith. Absolutely knocking it out of the park. It's disgusting. It is deplorable. What a bunch of assholes. let's just call it, they're a bunch of assholes. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon family, sedan.